back, guys. This is Automotive Anonymous. That is the all-new 2023 Subaru Ascent Limited Onyx. And today, we're going to review it and find out if it's worth your time and money or if it's something you should consider leaving at the lot. Subaru likes to call it crystal white pearl. I like to call it white and black with the Ascent package. And we're going to do our typical walk around, go through all the specs, initial driving impressions, 0 to 60 with the GPS, and spoiler alert, it's surprisingly quick. And then our final thoughts to decide, is it worth your time and money? Big thanks to the Twin Falls Subaru for letting me borrow it for the day, and let's dive right into this review. First of all, I gotta mention, I think the white and black Subaru Ascents are my favorite looking color combo. They always look good whether they're clean or dirty. The white paint doesn't show a lot of filth, and they just look fantastic. And I've been really excited to bring this one to you guys because I've been looking for a limited Onyx for quite a while. I've now reviewed all of the 2023 trim levels, minus the base, because I'm pretty sure those only exist on Subaru's website. I've never seen one in person, so if you're interested in any other Ascent videos, you can find them on my channel. A little bit about the Ascent is they started production in 2018, replacing the Subaru Tribeca as the biggest Subaru prior to this one. They sell 34,000 to about 50,000 a year in the United States. You can either have a 7-seater with captain chairs in the middle, or double benches giving you 8 seats in the Subaru Ascent. And a base model, if you can even find one of those, starts at $34,000. A fully loaded Touring, which is the highest of the 8 trim levels, is roughly $50,000. So the way that this limited Onyx, that's the 7th highest, would start is about $46,000 before destination. This one you'll see only has a few extra goodies, such as the privacy shade and other little things like the crossbars on top. So after destination and then after the discount, it's about $47,000. $47,000 means that this is exactly what the average new car is for 2023. Here it is, your average new car. What are your thoughts? Comment below. I of course say that jokingly, but kind of not really, because sedans are disappearing, crossovers and unibodies are becoming popular. So this in fact is almost the average vehicle you'll see on the road. Even though you're gonna see pretty soon, it seems to be quite a bit nicer than the average new car. And that's because you get a bunch of goodies on this trim level, such as 360-degree cameras, one under the emblem, one on each side mirror underneath. And then on the back, of course, you also get 20-inch wheels, blacked out basically everything, so this front end looks really aggressive. And then you of course have the pano roof up top, and when we get inside you'll see the multimedia navigation system. You have Harman Kardon speakers, which if you know Subaru, you know those are really good. And then you also have StarTech seats, which are easy to clean, they look good, and more importantly, they're comfortable and powered. And if safety is a concern, as it probably is if you're buying a 3-row Subaru SUV, you have a lot of good safety features, such as really bright LED headlights and fog lights. You have the 3 eyesight cameras, the Gen 4 system. You have turn signals on the mirrors. You have blind spot monitoring on the inside. You have all of your adaptive pedestrian and car automatic braking, rear cross traffic alert, rear braking. Man, you have a whole lot of goodies, and my day job is physical therapy. I work with people in car accidents. You don't want to be one of them. Having all these extra options really are going to help keep you and your family safe. Well, we have a couple more specs to go over so that we can get out of the wind and show you the interior. These are roughly 16.5 feet long, 6.5 feet wide, 6 feet tall, and they weigh about 4,500 pounds. If you have a tow package, you can tow about 5,000 pounds. Subaru symmetrical all-wheel drive means 8.7 inches of ground clearance, a 370 final drive ratio, and the wheelbase is about 9.5 feet, so it's actually pretty well planted on the road. These take 38 feet to do a full circle, and the payload, as in how much stuff or how many people worth can you fit in the back of it, about 1,400 to 1,600 pounds depending on your configuration. Passenger located gas tank is actually pretty decent at 19.3 gallons when the vehicle's unlocked, so is that. But if you lock the vehicle, so is the gas door. And when you're getting 19 city, 25 highway, you're gonna be good for about 480 miles of road tripping. The last thing to mention before we hop inside are these nice 20-inch black wheels on the Onyx, wrapped in a 245/50/20 Vulcan tire. And then we have proximity key features to lock and unlock, and because it's the proximity key, you can just leave that puppy in your pocket to open the door, or you can pay for the My Subaru app and get a remote start. The door panel of the Ascent honestly looks really good, but it's almost like Subaru couldn't make up their mind, because look at how many differing materials there are in here. But honestly, it looks really good. They're easy to clean, they're soft touch. And let's go through them. You have the memory seats, the handle, the lock, the green stitching found in abundance that Subaru must have a mega deal with Michaels to get all that. The door card is also soft touch, really deep handle, easy to grab a hold of. Your controls, your Harman Kardon speakers are advertised, and then your double bottles with the graham cracker stacked vertically. But seriously, Subaru, why don't we have more door panel for the pocket? It's right there, just extend it. Anyways, you have a medium-sized Subaru on the door sill, a little bit of grip if you have to step there to get up to those rails. You have really nice cloth mats with more green stitching and stamping for Onyx in them, rubberized pedals, fuse boxes. These are your lighting options. More green stitching around your storage. And then you have some really nice StarTech seats. They are 10-way power and nice big panel roof up top with some incandescent lighting, as you can see. And we're finally out of the wind. So guys, like this video if you like the Ascent so far, or if you're happy that we're out of the wind. Otherwise, we're gonna fire it right up with the push button start. The horn sounds pretty decent. You just saw the needles do their little dance. And then this leather wrapped wheel with the green stitching is honestly really comfortable. And guess what? It is heated on this one, which is a really nice feature. Otherwise, you have the paddles on the back for simulated gears. You have all your adaptive voice and audio controls on the left, including that center display. So you have quite a bit of good options there. And then you have your cruise settings on the right. If you want to get out of eyesight cruise, go into cruise with that button and then hold down the second one. And it turns off to go into normal car, pre-eyesight cruise control. Otherwise, it's a really nice place to be. Everything's comfortable. It feels very spacious in here. And there's just a lot to work with. You have the auto dimming mirror. You have the compass up top, home link. That's how you turn off the auto dimming mirrors, which also work for the side mirrors, which are pretty cool. And then you have the mirror to keep an eye on the back seat. And you have your sunglass holder. There's your controls to do the sunshade, or the front half of the panel roof if you want to tilt it up or slide it out of your way. Otherwise, you have the big 11.6-inch screen. Same thing that can be found on my Outback Wilderness. Some of the options are easier to find in this than on previous years or previous software updates. You can change those widgets up top to whatever you want. But there's a lot of good stuff that can be had. Heated seats are right there. It gets hot with the HVAC, it gets cold with the AC. The heated seats though, they're warm, they're not hot though, and you can easily get into some more options right there. Thankfully, the Ascent doesn't have auto start stop if you don't like that feature. I do wish it held auto vehicle hold on all the time. That's just a really cool feature. Otherwise, you have a 12 volt, you have a rubber line declining storage for your phone or whatever else you have down there. You have the 360-degree camera, which seriously is fantastic on this. You can get a lot of stuff, and then you go through your 2-stage X mode up top. Otherwise, you have some more plug-ins and an aux. You can go down to manual mode if you want, and then play with those paddle shifters, electronic parking brake, cup holders, rubber line in the bottom out of the way, and then a pretty big size center console that's kind of like a felt line with a lifty tray. So you have a lot of good options, but let's turn it off. Let's hop in the second row. The back door panel follows the same theme, lots of different materials, but really nice and an abundance of green stitching. You even have an extra sunshade beyond the factory tint. And one of my favorite features on the Ascent is an actual cup holder. Otherwise, there's your one button for the feeling of power, your Harman Kardon speakers, and then a similar sized door pocket to the front. You have a few places to step, whether you're getting into the vehicle or again to step up to those raised roof rails. Really nice carpet, really nice StarTechs. And you can drop the seat from the back to get out from there, or you can recline it from here, or if you're in the front, you can just pull the handle. But at 5'11", with the seat all the way back, I have an abundance of room, about a hand's worth, so I'm gonna slide it forward with the bar. I'm gonna get to where I'm comfortable. I have a mat pocket, so I'm actually quite comfortable back here, enjoying the panel roof, being a backseat driver, having my own ventilation and lighting, and some extra options right there with some extra cup holders. So it's a pretty nice place to be. There's 2 ways to get into the back. You can either hop through the center of the captain chairs, which do have the captain chair armrest, or you can go out and go in with the seat slid forward. I do want to mention there is a little bit of a hump right here, so you're gonna have to make sure you don't trip when you're getting into the back of the Ascent. And then you have some more cup holders, some plugins, a little bit of storage back there. We're gonna leave the one seat up, the 40 split, because we have some of those boxes for the sunshade and stuff like that. But here it is. Here's the back row. The headrests are folded down, another speaker, some more plugins. And if I'm gonna do a little swirl and sit behind myself again from where I was comfortable in the center row, it's snug. My knees are touching, at least the one is. My hat is touching the roof. I could do this for a little while, but honestly, I think you need to be 5.5 feet or shorter to have a better time back here. And you do even have this extra sunshade, which is pretty cool. I do want to mention the seat is already reclined all the way back. It can come forward, but I actually already had it all the way back. And now it's time to escape because I am getting claustrophobic. The third row back here is definitely not as big as the Chevy Suburban or the Yukon Denali XL that I reviewed a little while ago, but at least it's easy to get out of, enjoy some fresh air, some sunlight, put the seat back in place, and run around to the back to see what else is offered. There's a few cool things to note back here. You do have the PIN code, so you can get in and out of the vehicle without having the keys on you. I have a video on how to set that if you're interested. And then there's 3 ways to get into the hatch. Either push the button back here, use the remote, or next to the lighting options on the left of the steering column, you can push the button there. But I'm gonna use the remote, show you the power liftgate in action. Depending on if you have the pano moonroof or not, there's conflicting cargo capacity space. But in general, back here behind the third row, you have roughly 18 cubic feet. If you drop the third row, you have in the mid upper 40s. And then if you drop the front row, you have in the mid 80s. So this is basically a larger turboed Forester with the third row down. And it does a really good job. I think most people who aren't hauling and using the third row are probably gonna have the third row down just to fit more stuff, because like that, you can fit some really long items. With the second row down, you really have a whole lot of room if you need to haul some big stuff. Otherwise, back here we have a 12 volt, some tie downs, incandescent lighting, the straps to easily pull the seats back up if you want. And then our tools and our sunshade down here, because on the Ascent, the spare tire is actually underneath the vehicle. But we're gonna drop it with the power liftgate. You could also drop and lock. On the rear passenger side, the door panel basically is identical, as is the map pocket and the captain chair, so nothing really to mention on this side. It's just symmetrical to the other side. Proximity key features again to lock and unlock. And then the door panel is very similar to the driver's side, again minus just a few controls in the memory seat positioning. Nothing really to write home about there. Medium-sized Subaru again on the door sill with a little bit of grip, power seats, but you lose a couple of the options. But our backpack, riding in this top safety plus vehicle, is happy, it's content. There's a little bit of storage above the glove box. I do wish this had the same cubby right here that the Outback has, and then a locking glove box. That's not large, but it's adequate, and there's no plugins there. I do want to mention that there is a key, so you can pull the key out of here by pushing that button, just like how you'd get into the vehicle if the power was out, if the battery had died. But that's not something that we're gonna do today. So let's get around to the front, let's pop the hood and see what that 2.4 liter pretty stout power plant actually looks like. Under the hood, it should look really familiar for that FA24 direct injection turbo platform. And you could just see how low it sits in the engine bay of this larger Subaru Ascent compared to the Legacy, the WRX, the Outback, any of those other offerings that I've reviewed for you guys. But it's really cool. Subaru does a fantastic job under the hood. All the reservoirs are up top, easy to get to. The top mount oil filter is fantastic, so you don't knock that thing off if you're off-roading. Oil fill, oil dipstick, alternator right there under the coolant hose, and under this little plastic cover that keeps your fingers safe from losing them in the serpentine belt. And then you have induction from a few different spots through the grill to get through the filter, all the piping and plumbing to get to that turbo that's just out of sight, through the intercooler, through the throttle body, and then to each side of the horizontally opposed boxer. And you can just about see the split in the block down there. So this is a really cool platform, 260 horse, 277 peak torque, which comes on as low as 2000 RPM, means that this feels very stout around town and with light acceleration. And now my favorite part, I finally get it teleported to the street and show you guys how it rides, and then we're gonna get to that 0 to 60 before our final thoughts. Initial driving impressions of the limited Onyx Ascent is that it drives very much like all the other Ascents I've driven, which in fact drive very much like all the other Subarus, but the biggest things you notice are the height. It does feel a little bit higher than any of the other Subarus, as you would expect, because this is the big biggest one. This is the Subaru Behemoth. Even though really, at 16.5 feet long, it's only half a foot longer than something like the Outback. But visibility, as you can expect, is fantastic. The windows are big. The mirrors are good. They do their job on the side. And you can see everything you need to, including whatever's going on in the middle or the back seat with that mirror on the roof. Steering wheel is comfortable. Heated seats in Subarus are not the best, even on the highest setting. They're warm, but they're not hot, in my opinion, compared to the other things I've driven. The horn sounds decent. It's loud enough, not too high-pitched. And overall comfort in the Ascent is just fantastic. I love all the extra cubbies you get, all the extra storage. The big center console is fairly large. I do wish it had a CD player. I wish we had more options than just the 11.6-inch screen, because I think a few thousand of the buyers would probably appreciate having an option. But overall, it's fantastic. Auto-dimming mirrors on these work really well. I love those on my Outback Wilderness. Having the home link for your garage door openers and the compass up top is also a nice feature. And overall, it's just a really nice place to be. Everything is well thought out, ergonomically designed around the driver. Oftentimes, these Japanese cars really do seem to be more driver-centric than sometimes some of the American cars or cars from other manufacturers. The power delivery from this 2.4-liter turbo is honestly really good. You'll see our 0 to 60 soon enough, but our altitude is the equivalent of being almost a mile above sea level, which really hurts naturally aspirated engines. But having a turbo on this little 4-cylinder compensates extremely well. And for the class of vehicle that this is, it does really well. The Harman Kardon speakers on this sound fantastic. If you can opt for that, I would, but because this is so well insulated, probably the best insulated of any of Subaru's vehicles. Even if you don't have the upgraded speakers, sound quality is going to be decent with low wind and road noise compared to some other models. And when you have to get up to speed, when you have to push the go pedal all the way down, it does really well. The turbo spool's early, since peak torque comes on at 2000, so even half throttle like this, the CVT fakes some shifts, and you're already at the speed limit. The bolstering on the seats is just fine. It's going to fit a lot of people, a lot of body types. These StarTech seats I think are really comfortable. Although whether you go cloth, StarTechs, or leather on a Subaru, I honestly think that they're all comfortable. I've driven dozens of 2023 Subarus now, and they all do a good job. They're not like some other manufacturers where one of the materials might be comfortable, whereas another one might not be. Honestly, whatever you get in the Ascent, I think you're going to be seated pretty well. But you guys absolutely need to go drive when you need to go check it out for yourself and decide, am I just making all this up? Or did Subaru in fact develop a really good vehicle? And hence why about 50,000 people a year buy this specific one. So whether you're driving through the country like we are, observing some cows through those large mirrors and windows, I think you're gonna be having a good time. At about 4,500 pounds and a 9-ish foot wheelbase, 9.5 foot wheelbase, it feels very planted on the road. And it really, to me, just feels like a big turboed Forester, especially if you decide to drop the third row back there and enjoy a lot more cubic footage to haul your stuff around with that, 1,400-ish pound payload. I think you're going to be having a really good time in the Ascent, but absolutely drive one if you like the Ascent. Like this video. Otherwise, we're going to get to our private road to do 0 to 60. 0 to 60 in the Ascent Limited, traction controls off, density altitude is basically the equivalent of 4,500 feet of elevation. So this vehicle is down on power, 7 or 8%. I'll brake rev the CVT, then I'll verbalize the true 0 to 60. The bottom left of the graph to follow, though, that shows without the foot of rollout. That's how a magazine would have rated the exact same run. Let's see what it can do. Honestly, really good for our elevation. That was a 7.90 true second, 0 to 60. Let's get to our final thoughts. my final thoughts of the all-new Onyx Limited Ascent for 2023 is, overall, it's a pretty good bargain. It's the average new car price, which the average is sometimes misleading compared to the median. But for about 48 grand, you're getting a fairly quick vehicle that can technically hold 7 people, and some storage. It can tow, it can carry stuff on those roof rails. You know, it can do a sub 8 seconds 0 to 60 true time, even at about a mile above sea level. And it looks good. I don't always think the Ascent looks fantastic, but white and black, that's a very bold color combination. Makes the front end look really good. Those 360-degree cameras are awesome. And the 20-inch wheels, usually I prefer more sidewall over a bigger wheel, but they look good. And Vulcans are fantastic tires, so even though your sidewall is a little bit smaller, it's still very smooth on the road. With almost 9 inches of ground clearance, it's very planted and capable. You really get a lot for your money when you're shopping Subaru. And this is nearly as loaded as the Ascent gets. So I need to know, do you guys want one? Have you owned one? Are you considering it? Or are you considering some of the competition? I've reviewed a CX-9, a CX-90, a Chevy Traverse, a few of the bigger full-size 3-row SUVs. And honestly, after everything I've driven, I grow more fond of the Ascent all the time. I think it's a really good vehicle. I think it's basically a bigger turbo 4-stir. So it's gonna be appealing to a lot of people. What are your thoughts though? Let me know in the comment section below. Otherwise, like this video if you care to help show your support. Subscribe if you want to watch more of my stuff. I usually post a few videos a week. And then if you're interested in this specific vehicle, check out the dealership. These are really good guys to work with. Otherwise, I hope you guys take care. Until the next one, see ya.